Well, Jacques, welcome to the Sports Editor. It's lovely to have you with us today.
No, thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me.
So, Jacques, we just want to talk a bit about your career with Namibia. You played for just over 10 years. In terms of young guys wanting to start up and eventually play for the country, how important is it for them to stay focused on that goal and to simply work hard?
Yeah, it's very important. I think my whole career, was based on the hard work. There were obviously a lot more talented people around, and I realized that. I realized there were a lot of guys with loads of talent, and if I wanted to play international rugby or professional rugby, I need to work a lot harder. So, and you got to dream big. You got to dream. You got to want to play for your country. You got to really want it and put in the effort. And if those two come together, then you'll get there.
Jacques, in the 2011 Rugby World Cup was a fantastic World Cup for you, being ranked in the top 5 players of the tournament. Would you regard this as one of your finest moments in your career?
Well, at that time of my career, I didn't have too many injuries. I think I was in the prime of my career. After that, it started going a little bit sour. All the injuries took its toll on me a bit. But you know what? It is great to get some recognition for the work you put in. It's not really something that I work towards. I would have much rather preferred us being more successful in the World Cup as a Namibian rugby team than getting an award for my own personal performances. But obviously a great honour if somebody sees what you do and they give you the recognition. So at that time of my career, it was a pretty good. I mean, I was in the form of my life, I would say, and I was really enjoying my rugby.
No, that's great to hear. Yeah, and I'm sure Namibia are quite excited about the upcoming World Cup. Talking about that, Namibia aren't quite a tough group in this year's World Cup, especially when you guys have to play the likes of New Zealand and South Africa. So what would the Namibians' approach be to the World Cup?
That's a tough one, obviously, I think we've got about 890 rugby players in Namibia. And if you compare that to the rest of the world or to the rest of the World Cup nations, it's quite far behind what the rest are. We've got an fully amateur club system, which is not very strong. We've got a couple of players based abroad, playing professional rugby, and the rest are just local boys. It's boys who go to their 8 to 5 jobs and then play a bit of rugby in the afternoon. So you have to be realistic. When you play the Springboks and the All Blacks in Italy, it's going to be extremely tough. I said earlier, I think if we can come away with some victories, in small areas, like play some good rugby and be extremely competitive and just never lie down and take a couple of lessons from that first Italy game. Whatever happens, take some lessons onto the next one and again from the second to the third, and hopefully we can get that first victory against Canada. But realistically, we're gonna have to work extremely hard to get some points out of those first couple of games, especially against South Africa and the All Blacks, I would say. I mean, if you can put your hand up and players can get a little bit of belief in themselves, it'll be very valuable going into the last couple of games. That's all you want, really. It's just the boys to come out and just have a good go and then we learn. This World Cup will be tough. If you can go out there and you can compete against the best guys in the world, it's very valuable going forward.
Yeah, no, there is indeed. You spoke about mental toughness and just want to combine that with the position that you played, obviously being a loose forward. And currently, in your mind, who's got a very good combination of that mental toughness and who's a very good loose forward? Who's standing out for you at the moment in terms of international rugby?
There's a couple of guys. Peter Stepp's a toy for me. His work rate is exceptional, and the amount of work if you just follow him just for 5 minutes during a match, you just look at what he does. That's what youngsters should look at and what they should do. Also, a guy, who just puts in loads and loads of work, gets up off the ground and just looks for his next job. And then a guy like Ari Sevilla, he's different to Peter Stepp. Also works extremely hard, but he fights so hard in the tackle. He carries strong. He can link up to the backs, and he's extremely dangerous. Very physical as well. a guy like CJ Stander as well with Ireland, big ball carrier, runs hard, and fits in perfectly with that European style rugby where it can get, when it does get wet and the ball's a bit slippery, you got to keep it close and you got to work to get that gain line yards or to get that go forward ball. Those guys are extremely important. There's so many. It's actually unfair to name a couple of guys. I mean, the one big thing that I do look at is the amount of work you put in on the pitch. It's great making one big run and two great offloads and then you get lost. And the guys that really stand out are the guys who keep going and keep getting up and getting that next job done and doing the things that a lot of people don't see. Those are the guys that I have a lot of respect for.
Yeah, definitely. And just based on some of those players that you mentioned, if we fast forward a bit into the World Cup, you can almost predict that the quarterfinals, semi-finals are going to be absolutely humdingers based on the players that are currently playing the game.
Yeah, it's going to be really tough. Realistically, 4 or 5 teams, maybe one more will be have a good shot winning the World Cup, and I think it'll come down to big moments. In finals, there's big moments. The guys make big decisions, or you'll slip up. I think in 2011 is a good example. I watched Wales. We played Wales in the same group as well, and they were playing so well. They looked like the team that could beat the All Blacks, the only team in my eyes in the 2011 World Cup, and that's Sam Warburton red card just changed the whole game, in the semi-final against France. And these are things that change matches. That's when teams are so close. There's a couple of moments in a game that can change the whole outcome, and it'll be interesting to see what those moments are. And it's going to be extremely exciting. It's going to be a really, really good World Cup. I can't wait to watch it.
Yeah. No, that's great. Jacques, could we touch briefly on your rugby playing career with Saracens in England? And it always was unique to see you dominating at the rucks. Just tell me, how on earth did you always manage to always be a ball winner there? You really, really got stuck in and you were relentless. You never ever gave up. What is your secret?
I don't know. It's not. I don't think there's any secrets about it. I do enjoy the physical part of the game. I think that's something that came quite naturally to me. I did like it when it gets tough and there's big hits and the boys get stuck in the ruts. That's just the way I played. Like I said earlier, now I wasn't probably not the most skillful guy with ball in hand. But I knew my strengths and I think I stuck to it. I did like to get stuck in, like I said, physically in the rucks and the breakdowns. And obviously rules have changed so much in the last couple of years already since I've retired. I think my big blessing was I grew up, or I started playing in an era where there were a lot of older boys, tough boys, boys where you needed to stick your hand up. It's tough in the rucks and you can get hurt if you're not up to it. So you have to be in the right mindset to get stuck in, and you have to do your bit. And as a young player coming through, that was what you needed to do. If you're a back row forward and you back off from the physical confrontation, then you get lost in the game, and that's where I like getting involved.
That's great. You touched there about the rules of rugby. Just an opinion here. The game is changing a lot, but is rugby becoming a softer game, or is it just becoming more technical?
Yes, I don't think it'll be a softer game. Rugby players are getting bigger and faster and stronger, so the collisions will be big, but the room for error is getting so much bigger. If you make a mistake and you just slightly slip up on a tackle, or you run into a clean and you get shoulder on neck or head on head, or whatever the case may be, it's just really the room for error is really small. That's what I mean. It's so tough when you want to be very physical. You want to get in the opponent's faces and dominate the game lines when you got to think about a million other things. Think about not going too high and it doesn't. I don't think it gets softer. That's the worrying thing for me, is that it does. The rules become so strict that you kind of forget about the whole psychological part of rugby as well. You know, there's big physical guys with speed, and everybody's got good skills. I mean, there's a mental aspect to it as well. If you can dominate your opponent physically and not shy away from those big impacts, and you know, I mean, be a little bit of a dog. You know, you gotta make it tough for the opponent and make sure you're in that fight. And that mental toughness is just as important as actually being tough physically and strong. And those are all things. I mean, the mental part of the mental game guys play now physically is just getting less and less because there's so many rules, you know, and it's tough, you know, because I know people want to make it safe. I know World Rugby wants to make the game safer and more attractive for the youth, and we obviously don't want to see anybody get hurt, serious injuries. But when you play this game, you know, the chances are there that you will get seriously injured, or there's a possibility that you can get injured, you know, and you have to know that going into it and make sure that your techniques are good. Work on your techniques, start from a young age, and keep working on your techniques, safer, stronger techniques, and then still you have to go out there and just go 100%. But it's getting tougher now. It's getting tougher on players to make that decision. Do I go hard? You know, do I commit myself 100% and try and smash somebody, or should I just hang back and make sure I don't go high, or just hang in the system? That's the tough one. There's a lot of things to think about at this moment.
Jacques, if we could just touch a little bit on your time again with Saracens. You won premiership titles with them, but throughout your time there, I know you mentioned that you got a few injuries along the way, but you were extremely consistent, putting in all the work and things like that. What sort of was your key factor there in terms of churning out those performances?
Yeah, I was extremely fortunate to be part of that group at Saracens. You know, we won, my time I was there, we won 3 premierships, and we lost in 2 finals in the premiership, and we won 1 European Champions Cup. So those were really special moments, and something that I'll always remember. You know, being consistent, I think, is a tough thing. I would think it might feel for the people out there watching, you're consistent, but you do go through highs and lows. Like I said, through injury as well, it's tough coming back from injuries and finding your form after you've been through a 2-year layoff. I mean, but you know, every time I played for Saracens, it's really a club that I believed in. It's a club that's been they were so good to me, and it's good to my family, and it was a real family, you know. And I think you'll do a lot more for family than you'll do for someone else if you really believe in what the club is about, and what they've given me, and the faith they put in me, and the trust, all the values. You know, I just wanted to repay them. When I stepped out on the pitch, I felt like I want to give back to what they've given me, and I hope it was a 50-50, and they would feel the same way. I'm sure they would, because every time I did go out, I made sure that I left everything out there, and that when I do walk off the pitch, then there's nothing left, and there's no ifs and buts. And you know, I love playing rugby. You know, I love playing rugby. It's something I've always done, and I'm very passionate about the game. And I mean, the club was the perfect place for me to be. I really felt at home there, and I played with a great bunch of players, great leaders. So I mean, everything just came together, and it was actually pretty easy to be consistent and to keep playing well. I think the motivation part is very important, and I always had the motivation from the club side and from my family side, and all the friends I've made through my career there.
That is fantastic, absolutely brilliant, and it's good to always feel part of something. Yeah, it just gives you that extra motivation when you need it.
Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Jacques, 2 more questions, and we're hopping around a bit today, but it's all good. Let's quickly touch on the last thing on the World Cup. And your opinion, it's always a tough one to pick this, but in my mind, I'm thinking South Africa, New Zealand final. Would you see it as a Southern Hemisphere final, or is the Northern Hemisphere side going to just sneak in there at the end?
It's tough, you know. I think Yeah, it could be anybody really. So I can't say it'll be an all Southern Hemisphere final. All Blacks I have massive respect for. They're always there, one of those sides. That's why I'm so excited to see them as well. I think people are very, very excited by the fact that they haven't been firing in the what is it, the Champions Cup? What is it called? The
Championship,
South Africa. Yeah. So they weren't as good as they were previous years, but still, they drew to South Africa there. They weren't humped by anybody. They didn't play awful rugby. They just weren't the All Blacks of old. So they will always be the team that I would look for and say they're dangerous, because they will be there or thereabouts. They've got extremely talented rugby players, and their rugby culture and I think what they believe in, they believe in each other. They've got a similar belief in each other and in their systems, in the players, and in the relationships. As I would say, the Saracens, something that we based ourselves on, or something that we found very important. So they'll be really tough. They'll be tough to beat. The Springboks now, they've got extremely strong squad. They've got really, really world-class players. They've got players who, when it gets critical, they'll get stuck in, and they're extremely tactical. With Rassi joining them, you can see it's all well worked out, and it's all in a good plan, and they work extremely hard. They scrum well. They haven't really got any weak areas, which is really exciting. They score great tries. They've got real try scorers in the back line now, where they might have lacked in previous years. They're the full package now. But then you also have to look at a team like England. England's got game breakers. England on their day are extremely tough to beat. So England might go all the way. They might go in the final. Ireland are really tough to beat. Wales are really tough to beat. Really epic for this one. I think that's what makes it so special.
Yeah, so there's a lot to look forward to. This is going to be awesome. A great World Cup happening.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Jacques, we're just going to end with this, but I'd like to know, how's life in Namibia? How's the farming going?
Yeah, it's been tough. It's been tough. It's been great being back. First couple of years. It's been, I think, almost 4 years now, 3.5 years. It's been extremely tough. We came back in the middle of one of the toughest droughts, if not the toughest drought Namibia's ever seen. So it's very tough to make a living out of farming now. But I've been through tough times in my life. And I've managed to push through and found a way through these tough times. And I think it is in my character to kind of embrace the toughness and just kind of see if I can get through that, and then I'll survive. Eventually I'll get through it and survive. But it's been extremely tough, and something that's completely, I think the frustrating part with the farming bit is being so out of control. It's just something that you've got no control over. You can't make it rain, doesn't matter what you do, and you can't fix it by smashing it, or you can't fix it by working harder. It's just something that it comes or it doesn't come, and I think that's a frustrating bit. But I'm extremely blessed. My kids are thriving here. We're extremely happy. My wife's really happy, and our family is doing really well, and we're all healthy. And what more do you need in life, really? You've got your family by your side, and everybody's healthy. And you live in Africa. I know it's got its challenges, but what a beautiful place to be. You know how it is. It's every time I make my fire and I stand in front of my fire and I have a braai, I realize how blessed I am. I've got food on my table, and I've got loved ones by my side. So it's been challenging at times, but it's also at the same time I've been extremely blessed to have what I have, and to be back here after the experiences I've had, traveling across the world and doing what I loved, what I absolutely had a passion for. So, I mean, looking back on all of it and being back in Namibia, I love Namibia. I don't think I'll ever live in another country than Namibia. You can never say never, but I really love the country, and we're really happy here. So, I mean, like I said, if you come over for a braai, I'll show you how good the meat is down here. Already, that's something that you always do to the country, and you'll find out. We'll survive. We'll make plans, and we'll with some people. I think everybody. I think farmers have to go through the highs and the lows, and everybody really will push through to where they have to be. So thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. We'll definitely get through this, and we'll be smiling at the end, definitely.
That's great, Jacques. I definitely will take you up on that offer. No, but wishing you well. It can be very tough. Drought's not a funny thing at all, and sending you well wishes, and we trust that the farming will pick up, and then things will be restored, and you guys will carry on moving from strength to strength. Jacques from the Sports Editor, thank you so much for your time. All the best, and enjoy the rugby.
Thank you very much, man. Appreciate it.
Take care. Cheers. Bye-bye.